old newspaper and started feeling sorry for myself. That's why I walked in here kind of glum. Really.
Norman.
It's true.
Listen to me.
I like peanuts, and I'm all ears. What am I?
Come on, I'm serious.
Well, what are you serious with me for when you're always laughing with your dad? Don't I rate a little good cheer?
Please, I mean it.
Mean what?
Well, my father, well, he's in my life to stay.
Okay.
I don't believe you.
Look, your dad's a very funny guy. He's got a million stories and a million different ways of telling them. He's got a big smile on his face all the time. He ought to run for some kind of office. But when you really need him, he's not going to be around. You'll see.
Norman, you have to make room for him.
I'll try.
It's lovely here. The wind in the trees sounds like rain.
Reminds me of rain on another night.
3 years ago?
The Twin Maples Motel. I forgot the M's and the signs were burned out, remember? And the television in our room didn't work.
Remembering.
I was remembering. Well, it wasn't much of a honeymoon, was it? I guess honeymoon's the wrong word. It's really a place to spend the first night of a very brief marriage. You in the bed and me on the chair.
No, we don't have to talk about this.
Oh, no. I could go to my room and stare at the four walls, or you could sit here and watch the fire die out. Or we could smile at each other and say a lot of silly things like kids on their first date. But it would still be there.
We were kids then. If our marriage had lasted, that would just be a funny memory. You on the chair, me on the bed.
Oh, boy, how I told myself. I sat there in that chair that night and I said, I'm going to make this marriage work. I wish I'd tried harder. I wish we could go back, Betty. I wish we could wipe it all clean.
Where would you begin? At the first day that you walked in on your father, kissing my mother. Or with my lie that trapped you into marriage, or the detective's report that gave you an excuse to end it. Or all the way back. All the way back to the first night that we parked at Turner's Pond.
Well, I was right about one thing I said that night. Ours wasn't the usual high school romance. We tried to forget about each other. We couldn't.
You fell in love with Allison, and I married Stephen.
But I could never bring myself to talk about marriage with Allison. You were still there. I guess she knew it. Was this a mistake, Betty? All of this, what we've said?
No. We've been honest. We've admitted things have happened that forced us to grow up. And whatever there was between us, it never really ended.
Not whatever. I love you, Betty.
I wanted to hear that.
I love you. And I'm never going to let you go again.
Come in.
She's snoring. What does that mean?
Oh, well, her nose is stopped up. She still has some congestion, but it's beginning to break up.
Well, you said this morning that she was on the verge of pneumonia.
Well, babies recover quickly. It is if they've had the proper care.
Well, the nurse said she was doing nicely, but that's just standard.
Standard?
You know, don't rock the boat.
Oh.
This boy I know got jumped on by some tough types, and they cut him up pretty badly. The police took him to the hospital, and at 3 a.m. he was doing nicely. At 4, gone.
Where did this happen?
In St. Louis.
Oh.
I don't come from there. And he wasn't the father of my baby, in case you were wondering.
So it was just one of the stops on your 35-state tour, huh?
One of the better ones. I waited tables 6 to 2 a.m. in the morning. And the baby and I had the whole day together.
Where was the baby while you were at work?
She slept in an alcove off the kitchen. Oh, by the way, I found a room down by the wharf. It has the most terrific view. I love it.
Good.
It's just that you can see the whole harbor from there. I've always loved the ocean. Mrs. Hewitt didn't want to rent to me at first because of the baby and my not being married.
And I suppose you announced that right off the bat.
Well, if it's going to make a difference, I'd like to know from the start.
Of course, of course. What made her change her mind?
An angry old man with a walrus mustache.
Well, it's Eli Carson.
How did you know?
Well, in a small town, there's really only one old angry walrus mustache.
He threatened to move out if she didn't let me have a room.
Yeah, that's Eli, all right.
Isn't that a wonderful thing to do for a total stranger? That's what I like about small towns, the Eli Carsons.
Well, I wouldn't take too rosy a tinted view of small towns. That is, unless I've lived here more than 24 hours.
I grew up in one,
Oh?
in upstate New York. We moved away just before the 12th birthday.
To the big city?
To a city, the suburbs. I hadn't thought about anyone like Mr. Carson in a long time. He's small town to me. People like him. Whatever happens, they always act like neighbors. It's a good place to raise a baby.
Better than a cross-country bus.
I know one thing. I'm not going to let Kelly grow up in a big city like New York. They're just dirt and soot. But I don't have to tell you. You know what it's like. And what it can do to people.
How did you know I was from New York?
I suppose from the way you talk.
That's funny. I flattered myself into thinking I'd lost all my New York accent.
Well, it's more what you say. You don't sound like a small-town doctor. Or maybe you would if I hadn't been doing all the talking. When can I take Kelly home?
We'll see tomorrow.
Thanks for everything.
Jill.
Yeah?
Tell me. What else do you know about me?
Nothing. See you.
Preview from the continuing story of Peyton Place.
If you ever get around to judging yourself, I'd be very interested in the verdict.
I think you'd better open the door right now, Stephen.
Rita and I play a game. It's called Charity Begins at Home. I just want to feed the baby and take care of my wife.
You know, your parents can't help you if you don't trust them. Do you think it's right to deprive her of a home?
It's better than making her live a lie.